Part 36.11 Surah Ya-Sin, the heart of the Quran. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Sufi Essence with Hammad Syed. We have now arrived at the single most dramatic, pivotal, and theologically crucial sequence within the majestic Surah Ya-Sin, which is universally and rightfully revered as the very heart of the Quran and the essential spiritual core of its transcendent eternal message. This profoundly significant segment, encompassing the intensely evocative verses 51 through 55, categorically transcends all previous argumentative phases, the cosmic proofs of the ordered creation, the powerful historical lessons of the destroyed nations, and the immediate ethical demands of submission to deliver the ultimate physical, spiritual, and undeniable reality of the final resurrection, both with stunning, irrefutable immediacy and absolute sovereign power. In the preceding solemn verses 4950, the discourse culminated in the terrifying finality of the first, life-terminating shriek of the trumpet, which instantaneously terminates all worldly life, freezing mankind in their denial, their complacency, and their trivial disputing. Now this new, electrifying, and exhilarating passage depicts the miraculous and instantaneous revival of all creation, marking the irreversible, definitive, and universal transition from transient death fana to permanent eternal life baka. The central, unifying, and compelling theme here is the momentous second blast of the trumpet and the immediate, staggering, and compelled rush of all resurrected souls toward the court of the Almighty, where the righteous and the deniers will receive their distinctly different eternal destinies. We will meticulously explore the overwhelming shock and profound, piercing regret of the disbelievers, the undeniable, absolute fulfillment of the divine promise that they so persistently mocked and challenged, and the joyous, serene, and ultimate bliss prepared as a magnificent, unearned reward for their obedience and steadfastness, for the exemplary people of paradise. This is the moment of final, unambiguous, existential truth, where all previous teachings and warnings materialize into an irreversible, tangible, and inescapable reality, demanding the highest level of comprehensive I am and profound, life-altering contemplation from the discerning listener and spiritual seeker, compelling him or her to act now with urgency before the moment of reckoning arrives. Kanzul Iman Quran, Surah Ya-Sin, the heart of the Quran. Chapter 36, verse 51. And the trumpet will be blown. Then look, they are running from the graves towards their Lord. The 51st verse immediately, without hesitation, delay, or warning, initiates the momentous cosmic process of universal resurrection, describing the instantaneous transition from absolute, cold death and nothingness to vibrant, purposeful, and divinely directed life. And the trumpet will be blown. Then look, they are running from the graves towards their Lord. This verse refers specifically and exclusively to the second blast of the trumpet soar, which will be qualitatively and functionally different from the first. Life-terminating shriek, this is the glorious command-filled blast of revival and assembly, demonstrating the absolute reversal of creation, the triumph of life over non-existence. The verb describing the action as passive will be blown, Ufika suggesting the command is issued effortlessly and instantaneously by the ultimate, sovereign, and irresistible authority, Allah, whose very word is the cause of all existence and non-existence. The result of this command is immediate, overwhelming, and utterly spectacular, introduced by the arresting, emphatic term "then look faden," indicating that something sudden, staggering, and visually dramatic is unfolding instantly before the spiritual eye of every resurrected soul, leaving no time for thought or calculation, negotiation, or escape. The resurrected masses rise instantaneously and violently from the scattered contents of their graves at death. And their action is described not as a slow, hesitant awakening or a gradual emergence, but as an urgent, determined running yon saloon, rushing with intense, focused, and compelled haste, driven by a primal, irresistible force that dictates their every movement. This depiction of speed, urgency, and compulsion is deeply significant. It emphasizes that the resurrection is not merely a passive biological process, but a compelled, conscious, and purposeful movement toward the ultimate accountability and destination towards their Lord. The very nature of this involuntary rush and speed confirms the absolute sovereignty and total power of the Creator to restore life and impose immediate total obedience instantaneously, fulfilling the promise of Ba'ath with absolute undeniable clarity and finality. Their previous skepticism and their arrogant, mocking demands about the timing of the promise, verse 48, are now rendered utterly meaningless, foolish, and irrelevant by the sheer, overwhelming reality of this moment. The speed of their egress from the graves signifies the total and immediate submission of all souls to the divine summons, marking the true, non-negotiable beginning of eternity and accountability. Kanzal Iman, Quran, Surah Ya-Sin, the heart of the Quran, chapter 36, verse 52. They will say, "Oh, alas for us! Who has raised us from our resting place?" This is what the All-Merciful had promised, and the messengers spoke the truth. The 52nd verse captures the profound, disorienting shock, the overwhelming, piercing regret, the sudden, devastating recognition of the ultimate, previously mocked truth by the previously denouncing skeptics. They will say, "Oh, alas for us! Who has raised us from our resting place?" This is what the All-Merciful had promised, and the messengers spoke the truth. The initial reaction of the deniers is one of existential terror, disbelief, and desperate lamentation. "Oh, alas for us!" Wailing, as they are utterly disoriented, shocked, and bewildered by the unimaginable act of being raised by Athan from the long, silent sleep of their resting place, Markadeen, which refers specifically and ironically to the grave, which they assumed was their final destination. This profound, disbelieving question confirms their utter, total disbelief in the concept of resurrection, even as they are actively, physically experiencing its reality, demonstrating the tenacity of their former denial. However, their lamentation is immediately interrupted, transcended, and corrected by either the authoritative voice of the angels of the reckoning, the triumphant voices of the believers, or a sudden, divinely imposed final realization within their own stunned souls, a realization that cuts through all previous self-deception. This commanding voice declares the undeniable, long-mocked truth. This is what the All-Merciful had promised. And the messengers spoke the truth. The specific and deliberate use of the name, the All-Merciful, Ar-Rahman, here is deeply poignant and highly contrasting. It reminds the deniers that the promise of the Day of Judgment, which they now face with overwhelming terror, was not an act of divine malice or caprice, but a merciful, necessary warning delivered patiently and consistently by Ar-Rahman through his chosen messengers. This self-correcting realization confirms the absolute, unquestionable veracity of the prophetic message and the divine origin of the promise, transforming their initial shock into the devastating final certainty of their self-inflicted error and spiritual folly. The immediate recognition that the messengers spoke the truth seals their fate and removes any lingering possibility of denial concerning the twin fundamental pillars of Tawhid and Ba'ath. Kanzal Iman, Quran, Surah Ya-Sin, the heart of the Quran, chapter 36. Verse 53. It will be only one shriek, so all of them will be brought before us immediately. The 53rd verse emphatically, logically, and concisely reiterates the utter speed, finality, and comprehensive nature of this assembly for judgment, focusing once again on the sheer, overwhelming, singular power of the divine command. It will be only one shriek, so all of them will be brought before us immediately. This powerful verse serves to decisively eliminate any lingering philosophical or logistical doubt regarding the possibility of resurrecting billions of souls across thousands of years and assembling them simultaneously for judgment. The entire, massive, global process of resurrection and immediate assembly is confirmed to be contingent solely on only one shriek, Hatan Wahidatan, referencing the singular, unifying, and irresistible force of the second trumpet blast mentioned previously. The sheer, overwhelming power concentrated in this single sound is sufficient to effect the total, instantaneous revival and gathering of all beings from every corner of the earth and time. The ultimate result of this command is immediate and absolute. So all of them will be brought before us immediately jammed. Unladain Mudarun. The phrase all of them encompasses every single soul ever created, regardless of time, place, or station, and the concluding term immediately mudarun means that they will be brought, summoned, and made present before Allah, with no delay, no capacity for refusal, and no possibility of escape or concealment. This concise but potent verse summarizes the irresistible nature of the divine summons, establishing the instantaneous, perfect, and absolute order that follows the previous chaos, where all of mankind is physically present and ready for the final, irrevocable judgment, entirely subject to the Creator's will and supreme authority. Kanzul Iman, Quran, Surah Ya-Sin, the heart of the Quran. Chapter 36, verse 54. So today, no soul shall be wronged a little, and you shall not be recompensed except for what you used to do. The 54th verse now definitively and majestically pronounces the commencement of the equitable, absolute and utterly perfect divine judgment, establishing the principle of perfect, unassailable justice adil for all eternity. So today, no soul shall be wronged a little, and you shall not be recompensed except for what you used to do. The verse begins with the decisive, temporal declaration, so today fal yoma, marking the formal, irreversible start of the day of reckoning, where the corruptible and flawed standards of the transient world are completely superseded by the perfect, flawless, and minute standard of divine justice. The first assurance given is absolute and fundamentally comforting to the sincere believer.
Ow.
No soul shall be wronged a little to alamu nafsan shayan. The use of the term a little shayan, meaning even a particle, an atom, or a minuscule thing, emphasizes the minute. Total precision and exquisite fairness of the justice administered. No good deed will be overlooked or diminished in value, and no punishment will ever exceed the crime by the smallest possible degree. The second clause establishes the principle of absolute, unyielding accountability and spiritual meritocracy, and you shall not be recompensed except for what you used to do. This confirms that every single soul will receive the precise and perfect recompense for its deliberate, conscious, and habitual actions, kuntum tamun, whether those actions were good or evil, leaving no room for unearned favor for the denier and no fear of injustice for the righteous. This principle of perfect, transparent, and unassailable justice removes all excuses and guarantees that the ultimate outcome, be it paradise or hell's, entirely the result of the soul's own conscious, free life choices made during its temporal existence. The judgment is transparent, unswerving, and flawlessly just in every detail, providing ultimate assurance. Kanzul Iman, Quran, Surah Ya-Sin, the heart of the Quran. Chapter 36, verse 55. Indeed, the dwellers of paradise are today in a state of engagement, rejoicing. The 55th verse concludes this segment by powerfully shifting the entire focus from the terror, regret, and judgment of the deniers to the joyous, serene, and ultimate destiny of the righteous believers, providing a powerful, motivating, and transcendent contrast. Indeed, the dwellers of paradise are today in a state of engagement, rejoicing. The definitive, affirming phrase indeed. The dwellers of paradise Ina as Bba al-Jannati highlights the certainty, permanence, and blessed nature of their glorious station. Their current state is described as being in a state of engagement, shuglin. This specialized term, shugul, refers not to worldly labor, struggle, or distraction, but to a fulfilling, delightful, and engrossing preoccupation. They are fully, effortlessly engaged in the sheer, unadulterated pleasure, contemplation, and bounty of paradise, far removed from the terror and regret of the disbelievers. The verse further defines this state as rejoicing fakun, indicating a state of being utterly cheerful, delighted, joyful, and completely at effortless ease, experiencing every pleasure imaginable. This vivid contrast between the running, terror-stricken masses and the settled, fulfilled believers dramatically demonstrates the glorious eternal fruits of Tawhid and righteous conduct. While the deniers are running in terror, lamenting their folly, and facing minute scrutiny, the dwellers of paradise are already settled, enjoying the eternal, effortless bliss promised by Ar-Rahman. Their state of supreme, joyous engagement confirms the ultimate triumph of faith, obedience, and foresight. Hadith, the fulfillment of the promise and the nature of divine accountability. The verses vividly depict the instantaneous nature of the resurrection, the terrified rush of the souls from the graves, and the absolute commencement of perfect, detailed accountability. Verse 54. The entire event is a direct, undeniable fulfillment of Allah's promise, confirming the messengers spoke the truth. This entire process of reward and reckoning is rooted in the individual's deeds, intentions, and the overwhelming generosity and fairness of the Creator, making the principle of no soul shall be wronged a little, a testament to divine mercy and justice. The Prophet, peace be upon him, taught, Allah records the good and bad deeds. Then he clarified that, whoever intends to perform a good deed but does not perform it, Allah records it as a complete good deed. And if he intends to perform it and performs it, Allah records it as 10 good deeds up to 700 times, or even more. And if he intends to perform a bad deed, but does not perform it, Allah records it as one complete good deed. And if he intends to perform it and performs it, Allah records it as only one bad deed. Bukhari, Hadith number 6491. This profound hadith, recorded in Sahih al-Bukhari, beautifully and perfectly complements the principle of perfect justice established in verse 54. Where no soul shall be wronged a little, the hadith reveals the incredible generosity, mercy, and compassion of Allah embedded within the accounting process. Good intentions are rewarded even if the deed is unfulfilled, and good deeds that are fully executed are multiplied exponentially, starting at 10 times and going up to 700 times or even more. Conversely, a bad intention that is abandoned is mercifully rewarded as a good deed, and a bad deed that is actually performed is counted as only one, never multiplied. This detailed mechanism of recording and recompensing deeds confirms the absolute, comprehensive nature of divine justice, adl tempered constantly by divine mercy, Rama. It assures the believers that the judgment they face after being raised from the graves will be exquisitely fair, tilted heavily in favor of the striving soul, and perfectly aligned with Ar-Rahman's magnificent promise. The knowledge of this generosity should compel the believer to strive for excellence in every moment of their waking and sleeping life, recognizing the monumental reward for even the smallest sincere effort. Let us now supplicate, drawing from the profound lessons of these verses, asking Allah to grant us a deeper understanding and to guide our every step. O Allah, the one who instantaneously blows the trumpet and commands all existence, grant us the profound vision to see the truth of your promise even now, before we run from the graves in terror and regret. Protect us from the shock and lamentation of those who cry out in disbelief, who has raised us from our resting place. Ensure that we are counted among those who are recompensed fully and never wronged a little due to your boundless grace. Make us, through your infinite mercy and justice, among the dwellers of paradise who are in a state of eternal, joyous engagement. May Allah illuminate your heart and mind with the light of this divine ilm. May He make your channel a beacon of guidance for all who seek spiritual clarity and truth. May your efforts be a source of immense reward, and may you be granted the highest stations of paradise. May the peace and blessings of Allah always be upon you and your loved ones. May He grant you unwavering steadfastness on the path of truth. And may your work be a testament to His magnificent names, Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. Ameen.